JuGrTalk.
Well, how about that, folks? Welcome to the JuGrTalk podcast. I'm your host, Justin Grimes, and I'm here to just talk to you for a little bit, get to know you, and maybe you can get to know me, all right? So, hey, here's the deal, okay? With this podcast, what I plan to do is just go over a whole bunch of different things that I've personally been thinking about, okay? Maybe some special topics with the news. I know that there's some hot drama going on with like Twitch, for example. Let me just introduce myself, okay? My name is Justin, all right? I live in New York. I used to live in the Seattle area. I'm in my 30s. I play a lot of video games, and I'm into tech and a whole bunch of other stuff. All right. I'd like to think that I'm pretty in tune with popular culture and things like that too. So, there we go. I live relatively close to my family. They only live like a half an hour down the road. I have a girlfriend. Her name is Kate, and I live in an apartment. There you go. And again, I live in New York, not New York City. I live in upstate New York. It's a big difference. All right. Anybody here who's from upstate New York, you know what I'm talking about. All right. By the way, people in New York City, they talk about upstate New York, right? And they're talking about like Poughkeepsie. You ever see where Poughkeepsie is on a map in comparison to New York City? Like, yeah, it's a little bit up the state, a little bit. Right? But if you talk to anybody else from like outside of the Hudson Valley area, that's where you're going to get into a debate of what region of New York you're from. Anybody who's from actual upstate New York, I'm talking like Albany, I'm talking like Utica, I'm talking Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, upstate. All right. Now we're talking upstate. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. When you think about it, Poughkeepsie, it's less than an hour outside of New York City. How could that possibly be all the way upstate? That's barely up. That's not even up, dude. That's just like, it's still downstate, relatively speaking, to the majority of the landmass of the state of New York. You know what I mean? What is upstate? Can we define upstate? I mean, really? So when you're talking about New York, by the way, we got different regions, right? We have what I would call downstate, the city, okay? But around the city, there's other areas too. Like, of course, you have Long Island, which is its own separate thing. I'm personally of the opinion that Long Island might as well be its own borough in a way with how close it is to New York as a whole, right? I mean, some people say, hey, it should be its own state. Some people say, hey, Long Island's fine. I'm of the opinion that Long Island should just be a part of New York City because honestly, it really might as well be. They share a transportation system. To even get to Long Island, you have to go through New York City first. That's just how it goes. If you have to go to Long Island, guess what? You're going through New York City. So at that point, how's it not just a connection from New York City as a whole, So anyway, that's Long Island, New York City. And then you have the Hudson Valley, which is just a little bit north. And that's where you're going to find Newburgh. Different place entirely. Might not seem like it, but yes, it is. So Newburgh and Poughkeepsie, that's the Hudson Valley area, right? And if you go north from there, now you got a big split, right? Because at this point, you're like down in that little crevice of New York, like the bottom of the V of New York, right? So you can go left to go west, you can go right to go east, or you can go straight north. So really you're at a crossroads if you're leaving from Poughkeepsie. So how is that upstate? when you have the entire state above you. You know what I mean? That's New York, all right? It's an interesting place. My personal opinion, I love the state of New York. There's a lot of different things you can do. The area that I'm from, upstate, Syracuse area specifically, the 315, the 607, this area sucks, all right? There is nothing to do. Unless you're literally a college student going to a SUNY school, good luck. There's no nightlife. There's really not much culture. Really, okay. You can basically either be a college student in college, actively attending school, or you can work on trucks. That's it. That's the two things you could do in this area. I mean, there's other things, right? But if you're looking for a career, I mean, the automotive industry, there's a lot of farmland, or do what I do. I work from home. All right. That's the thing. You gotta kind of make your own way. But there's not a ton of industry in the city of Syracuse. There's just not. That's just how it is. I mean, again, the 315, the 607, that's what I'm talking about. And, the 315 area kind of extends all the way over to Utica, which at that point, you're getting pretty close to Albany. But, there's nothing in the whole region, man. That's it. Look, as far as even sports goes, right? Thinking about this. Down in New York City, there's a bunch of major sports teams who are in the New York City region, right? Like you got the Giants, the Yankees, you have the Jets, kind of, right? The Rangers, the Knicks, all these outstanding teams, really well-known, famous major league teams. Upstate, I mean, come on. You got Buffalo, right? You got the Buffalo Bills, the Sabres, right? But even that, Buffalo is very, I would consider that even Western New York. I like to think of New York like a face, like a silhouette of a face. Buffalo's on the tip of the nose. It's like right there. It's on the border of Ohio. It's like right there. It's on the Great Lakes, But, Syracuse, yeah, again, college basketball. That's all Syracuse has. That's really it. There's not even any like minor league teams in this area. It's literally all college. Either you're going to a SUNY school or you're going to a private school. But either way, that's the only sports that people pay attention to around here. I'm not even a sports guy. And honestly, I don't know what I'm talking about. But hey, at any rate, again, welcome to JuGrTalk. I'm just going to be yapping. I'm looking for an outlet to just start yapping. All right. This is episode 1. This is a test. All right. I want to be very clear. This episode might not be indicative of the quality of any future episodes or whatever you want to call them. Pods. What is a podcast really? Right? Let's get into the definition of what a podcast is. I mean, the term itself comes from the etymology of a cast for an iPod, right? What's funny is that whenever I had an iPod, I never listened to podcasts, right? I only really got into podcast stuff when it was in video, when it was on YouTube, That's why primarily this is going to be a YouTube thing. That's going to be like, I'll figure it out. I'll take the audio, I'm going to put it on like a video thing and then just upload it. Bing, bang, boom, Simple. Keep it easy. I think that Bill Burr does something similar too, But, when I had an iPod, I never listened to podcasts, right? I had Linkin Park to listen to. I had, Dr. Dre on there. I'm not going to take the time to listen to frickin', I don't even know, Joe Rogan. No, I'm not going to listen to Joe Rogan on my iPod. I'm good. I'm all set. Especially back then, like these days, Joe Rogan, he's got all these like famous people or whatever, but back then, like, what the hell are you talking about? Carlos Mencia? I don't know. Whatever. But, this is going to kind of be a comedy thing. It's more just me yapping, right? So I do have some topics, and I have some segments, right? So I think that this will be kind of fun. I might do some editing later on just to clean a couple of things up. Maybe cut a couple things out if I need to. But I do have a couple of topics that I want to get into. So the first segment, I'm going to go ahead and call this personal shit. All right? Personal shit. I might even make a little jingle for it. All right? Today, Kate, my girlfriend, we've been together for almost 2 years now, right? But, today she was supposed to be starting a new job, right? And, she's pretty close to being a social worker, right? She was getting her master's for, psychology so she can help kids and things like that, right? Her goal really was to become a therapist originally. But, she was supposed to start her new job today. She gets there and, day one stuff, they want her to fill out the paperwork for the I-9 and stuff like that. Turns out, she forgot her social security card at home. All right. Is what it is. Right. But I get a call from her this morning and she's like, hey, so that job I was supposed to start today, turns out I couldn't start today because I didn't have my social security card. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. Well, you could probably start tomorrow. Right. And she said, no. They said I need to come back in 2 weeks. I'm like, what are you talking about? 2 weeks? Why? Because of a piece of paper? You got to fill out your I-9. They can't just like make you start training. Why can't you just go back today? Why can't you just bring your social security card today? Go to the place, give that to them, and then just start training. Why do they have to make you wait 2 whole weeks? It doesn't make sense. Apparently, yeah, they were starting with somebody else today too. But my question is, like, look, I've been in managerial positions before. If somebody forgets their social security card, it is what it is. You go home, you bring it in, we'll have you sign the paperwork, you'll get started. If you can't do it today, then I guess we'll have to wait until tomorrow, right? But what I'm not going to do as a manager is make somebody wait an entire pay cycle before they can get started. That sucks. That really sucks, especially for like a new employee. Why would you make somebody, just assuming that they have to put in their 2 weeks notice at their previous job? Why would you make somebody have to wait another 2 weeks to get started? Because at that point, that could put somebody in a really rough spot, especially these days. The cost of living versus the amount of income people are getting is not great, right? Now, I will say that, with this job, she is getting a pretty good raise, right? She's making like 50% more than she was before, which is really good. Really great, even. But it's, I don't know what's going on there. Like, why would they make somebody wait 2 whole weeks? And, she did call. She called the HR over there. She called the person that she had the interview with as well, just to talk to them and figure it out. But yeah, they said they're going to have to wait 2 weeks. It's nuts. I don't know why. It makes no sense to me. But anyways, she'll be starting there in 2 weeks' time. It just sucks, And, in the meantime, I'm more than happy to help her out, of course, right? It's what I'm here for. But, part of me, like, yeah, it's a preventable mistake. Like, yeah, you should have brought your social security card, but it shouldn't result in 2 weeks being missed. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, even if somebody makes a tiny mistake like that, it could be easily amended, and then you continue on with your life. You shouldn't have to put it on pause for an entire pay cycle. That's ridiculous. I mean, part of me wants to tell her, hey, maybe we should find somewhere else, right? But it is a good raise. So she's going to put up with it. She's going to start this new job. It's going to take a couple of weeks. It is what it is. But again, it's annoying. So that's personal shit. All right. Otherwise, yesterday I was hanging out with her mother. All right. And this brings up another topic too. This is going to make a good segue for my next segment. All right. But yesterday I was hanging out with my mother. She just came up, she's been missing me. I didn't get to see her last weekend, is what it is. So she drove up and she said, hey, you want to go get lunch? You want to go to go shopping a little bit? I'm like, yeah, sure. Sounds great. So we, she comes, she picks me up from my apartment and, we're thinking about going to get lunch. So there's a really nice, kind of old school diner in town here. It's called the Cortland Diner. Shout out. Very cool stuff there. Again, really old school place. It looks like the place hasn't been updated since the 90s, right? That kind of vibe. Like black and white tile floors, just a big bar going around. Everybody who's working there can't be under the age of 55, I swear to God. The coffee is black and it's hot and it's in the mugs with the little advertisements all over it for all the local businesses. You know the gist. All right. They got some good food. They got some great food. I was thinking about going there, maybe get the steak and cheese sandwich, the Philly cheesesteak sandwich, it is whatever you want to call it. But, that's really good. And they have breakfast all day too. But this was on Sunday, yesterday. And we get there, she picks me up. We get there. It's like 3:04, in the afternoon, pretty early afternoon, I guess. At least for me, but we pull in and we walk into this place and we notice there's a sign on the door and it says, no more seating today. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean no more seating? Right? I'm like, it's 3:00 on a Sunday. No more seating. Maybe they rented the place out. They got a private party, something. Right. But we're confused. So we just walk in anyway. And we notice, they got chairs on the tables and everything. It looks like they're about to close. I'm like, what? It's like 3:00 on a Sunday. They're about to close. And there's a couple walking out, and I'm asking them, like, hey, are you? What's going on? Are they closing? Is the kitchen closed? Something happened? They're like, oh yeah, well, I don't know. We're just picking up our food. We're going. I'm like, okay, well, sounds good. So there's people still working behind the counter. They're doing something. So, I asked one of the guys, I said, hey, what's going on? You guys closed? He said, oh, yep. No more orders today. And I asked, the hostess or whatever. I said, hey, you guys, what's going on? You all closing? She said, yeah, we close at 3 on Sundays. I'm like, what? Look, I am a late riser, especially on the weekends. I like to sleep in. I'll sleep away the afternoon. I don't care. All right. I don't care. Daylight, especially in the wintertime. Look, I'm a bear. All right. I'm hibernating. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be staying home anyway. So I'm sleeping in the winter. But they close at 3:00 on Sunday. All I wanted was a cup of coffee, sit down with my mom, maybe read the paper, just hang out, Maybe she order an omelet or something. I don't know. Whatever. And that steak sandwich, man, that would have been good. But you know what? We turned around and we just walked out dejected. And at that point too, I'm like, okay, well, where else are we going to go? My mom's getting hungry. What are we going to do? And, so I start looking on my phone. I'm like, all right, where else are we going to be able to go? So, the Cortland Diner's listed on the maps, the Google Maps. It says, yeah, they're closed. Closed now. I'm like, okay, I should have checked before, I guess. All right, whatever. I'm like, okay, what other diners are in the area? Because I could still go for like a cup of coffee or something, right? There's another one nearby, 2 miles away. Awesome. Maybe we'll go there. Closed. Why does every diner close at like 2 p.m. on Sunday? You know what I mean? Of all days to be closed early. Why wouldn't they pick like Monday? You know, pizza places do that. You know, there's a pizza place in my hometown. They're always closed on Mondays. You know, it makes sense. You have a busy weekend, you take Monday off. I wish I had Mondays off. I don't. But, you know, after a busy weekend, you have the Monday. And then you can recoup, you know, maybe that's when you like, you know, stock up on ingredients. Maybe you still work that day, but you don't have customers. It makes sense, you know. But why do diners pick the middle of the afternoon on a weekend day to close early? It doesn't make any sense, you know. I mean, look, maybe it's like the church crowd or something, right? Maybe the people who are working there go to church, whatever it might be. I'm sure not everybody there goes to church, right? I mean, maybe they do. That's possible. But it can't be everybody, you know? Like you're telling me, everybody in that diner who works there goes to church. They leave for the day. They go home. They go to church, whatever. I'm just saying, like, they could be open later. I'm not going to Denny's. You know, I know Denny's is open. I'm not fucking going to Denny's, you know? There's nothing on that Denny's menu that sounds good to me right now, you know? A cup of coffee might be nice, though. I don't know. But anyways, so we leave. Still trying to figure out where we're going to go for lunch, you know? And then I'm like, well, why don't we go do shopping or whatever? Go wherever you wanted to go. You know, we'll just, you know, we'll think about it while we're looking around, you know? So, you know, we head over to Marshall's. My mom wanted to look at some clothes and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to get anything from Marshall's, right? You know, once in a while you go to Marshall's, you know, as a guy, right? It could be really picky when you're going to Marshall's, you know? I feel like all the clothes in the men's section are just the rejects, you know? All of the fucking reject clothes that's going to end up at the Goodwill later anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all of the stuff. Like, I found like a New York Giants jacket. All right. Too small for me. But it said New York Giants on the back in rhinestones. Can you tell me who's going to wear the New York Giants rhinestone jacket? I don't know. It's just funny, right? I feel like the New York Giants crowd isn't the rhinestone crowd, but maybe it is. You know, I'm sure there's somebody out there who would love a rhinestone New York Giants jacket. I mean, look, if they made one of these, there's got to be more. And somebody had to buy one, right? But you know, it is what it is, you know? So I'm looking around, you know, if anything, what I like to do when I'm going around Marshall's, I go to like that men's like cologne and deodorant and belts tie section, you know? That's where they have all the little knickknacks, all the little like electronic things. You know, you got your like phone chargers, your travel kits, shavers, stuff like that. I'm always looking through that because you never know. You could find something, maybe it's useful, take it home, try it out, right? So I'm looking around there. Nothing really interests me. But what I always do is in the little cologne shelf, you take out the cologne, you know, you do the little thing, right? Where you open the cap, you sniff it a little bit like, oh yeah, that smells good. Yeah. Oh no, I don't like that one. I'll try a different one. You know, you always got to grab one that you like and you put that shit on. All right. That's free cologne for the day, baby. You know, you're smelling good for the day. You're trying a fresh cologne out, you know, I don't care if I'm going to lunch with my mom, you know, I'm putting on some fresh cologne, free samples, baby. Best part about going to Marshall's is the free cologne samples. Can't do that at Walmart, you know, they don't have open fucking bottles sitting there at the Walmart cologne counter, you know, they got that shit in a lockbox. But at Marshall's, I swear to God, everybody's using those colognes. Never buy cologne from Marshall's. Just use it for free. Just go in, use it. There you go. Easy. Free samples. Why not? But anyway, me and my mom were looking around Marshall's, whatever. She's looking at clothes. She didn't find anything she wanted. I wasn't going to get anything. Free cologne, though. But, we decide, in this little lot, there's an Applebee's. So we're like, all right, fuck it. They got like a $10 meal deal. We'll just go to Applebee's. That's fine. All right. Now, I will say, I never usually do this, but the last time I went to Applebee's, I walked out. Okay? I didn't steal food. All right? I was so fed up with waiting that I was just, I can't do it. I can't sit here and just wait more. Okay? Full story. All right? Give me some context. So, last time I went to Applebee's, it was me, it was Kate, it was my mom, it was Vern, my stepdad, right? So we go into Applebee's. There's really not that many restaurants in the city I live in, all right? Slim pickings. Like, you're going to Applebee's or you go to the diner. Diner's closed. Guess we're going to Applebee's, There's probably other smaller places too. But, my mom's a little on the picky side. She's okay with, like, the chain restaurants, And I'm okay with that too. That's totally fine. But, we go to Applebee's, we sit down, having a bite to eat. I think we went to the movies or something that day too. I think we saw Twisters, that Twister sequel. It was okay, whatever. But we go to Applebee's, we get a bite to eat. So we're sitting there, we're looking at the menu, like, all right. This place, I will say, was pretty busy. All right. It was packed. It was like the afternoon on a Saturday. I don't know what was going on that day. It was like in the fall. It was busy. It was pretty busy, And I could tell. It looked like the servers were having a hard time keeping up, But there is a certain point. It's sort of a breaking point, right? Where, yes, you can understand that the restaurant is busy, but if it takes you an hour to get your appetizer, you might be in for a bad time. At that point, it's not a good time. So look, we're at the table, we order our drinks. And then, the server, she goes, and we're sitting there, and I'm looking around at the table next to us, 20 minutes later, all right? 20 minutes later, our drinks haven't shown up yet. 20 minutes, sitting at Applebee's, busy restaurant, and looking around, nobody's having a good time. This place is busy, and everybody there looks pissed off. Like, it didn't matter. The workers did not look happy. They were stressing, You could hear the cooks shouting in the back like normal. That's not, the bartender was just going buck wild. The bar back was trying to help out too. And it's just, but the customers, everybody looked like they were just not having a good time, and look, you go to Applebee's or something, at the very least, it's casual. People are just going, they're sitting down, having a bite to eat. They're chilling. All right. If you got somebody who's with you, you go to Applebee's just because it's convenient, and somebody's sitting there complaining, making a sour face. Look, all right. Yeah, you're at Applebee's. Just have a bite and just, it is what it is. Okay. It's just Applebee's. Who cares? But 20 minutes later, our drinks haven't shown up yet. And then the server comes back to the table and she says, hey, what can I get you to drink? And we're like, what do you mean? We ordered drinks. Like, it was almost a half an hour at this point. We still haven't gotten our drinks, and she forgot our order, right? Look, again, I understand that they're busy, right? But come on, man. It's been a half an hour. We haven't even gotten a drink yet. We tried to get your attention. It didn't work. We're just sitting here, twiddling our thumbs, watching everybody around us being pissed off. And, you can only sit around looking at each other in an Applebee's for so long before somebody breaks, So I'm looking at the table next to us, too. And that family, like, the plates weren't cleared off of their table. It was like a whole family of like 6 or 7 people or something, It was like a full family situation, But their table, like none of the plates were taken away. Like the entire time we were sitting there, the plates weren't taken away. It was like the father of the group or something was like waiting for his refill on his drink. And I noticed, for whatever reason, okay, one of the servers from the bar, like, brings him his refill. Like, he had to, like, flag him down to get his refill. The entire time we were sitting there, he didn't get his refill either. He was, like, waiting the entire time just to get a refill for his drink, And it was like the bar back or something, like, is like, oh yeah, let me get that for you. And he comes back with his cup for his refill. It was half full. And he flipped out. He flipped out. The guy over there, he like waited so long for his refill and they gave it to him. It was half full. They gave him a half of a Mountain Dew. And he's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, oh shit. Like, this family's already irate. They're not having a good time. I'm sitting here. I'm not having a good time. And I'm telling my family, hey, I'm not having a good time. I was on the brink. I was on the brink. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, they finally brought our drinks. Our appetizers we ordered with the drinks still didn't show up. It was 45 minutes in at this point. And I said, you know what? After I saw that Mountain Dew scenario, I can't do it. I can't sit here and like wait for this food. By the time it even does come out, what are the odds that it's going to be good? What are the odds that this food is going to be warm and appetizing by the time it comes out of that kitchen? Pretty slim. Okay. The odds that even if you do wait, that the food you get will be good are very, very, very low in a situation like this. Because this means that the kitchen's so backed up. They must be scrambling back there just to get the orders out the door. The servers can't keep up. If the servers can't remember a drink order, how are they going to remember to bring your plate to your table? Like, yeah, I understand. Maybe it pops up in the window. They grab it. They take it out. Right. But they don't always do that immediately. Oftentimes they're going to wait for the entire order to be done before they take everything out at the same time. Right. So let's say somebody orders like a chicken sandwich. Right. You're going to have to wait for that chicken sandwich to be done cooking before you bring out the burgers. Burgers cook quicker than chicken, but those burgers are going to have to wait for that chicken to be done. And guess what? That food's already plated. There's fries on the plate. Guess what? Guess it's sitting under the heat lamp, The odds that food would have been good were very, very low. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait anymore. I said, I'm done. I'm out. I pull out my chair. I make an ass out of myself. The chair falls down. I did like a frustrated, like clumsy move where I like trip over the fucking chair. I didn't throw it. All right. I just stumbled over the chair as I was like pulling it out. It's like those chairs where it's fucking like just straight metal on the bottom. So it's like scraping the floor when you like go to like scoot, So I'd like try to pull it out from under myself and I just fucking, it fell, the chair fell over. Right. And there's people like looking and everybody's stressed out. And I'm like, fuck it. I pick up the chair. I set it down. I said, okay, bye-bye. And I leave. I said, look, you can come with me or you can stay. Either way, I'm leaving. Do what you want. But I just take my coat and I leave. And that was it. I bounced. Kate came with me too, right? But I couldn't do it anymore. I was over it. Waiting for almost an hour at Applebee's for your food. I just wanted the water. I ordered the water. Never got my water. You know? Never got my water. Oh, man. What a horrible experience. Anyways, we went back to Applebee's. After that day, I swore I'd never go back. But I went back. You know what? And me and my mom, we go in, we sit down. And you know what? It's not that busy. All right. Everybody seems like they're in a decent mood. The restaurant's clean. You know, this is a very chill Sunday afternoon at Applebee's. All right. And I'm totally down for it. They got a sign on the billboard. It says, hey, we got a new $9.99 meal. I'm like, all right, that sounds great. Let's try it. You know? So I look at the menu. I'm like, hey, what's on this $9.99 menu? So you can get either, for $9.99, you can get either a barbecue cheeseburger, all right, like a classic barbecue cheeseburger, or a chicken sandwich, like a crunchy, crispy chicken sandwich, right? So I get the cheeseburger, the bacon cheeseburger. My mom gets the chicken sandwich. And by the end of it, you know, $20. We're both full. The food is fresh. We got our drinks immediately. Like I was like, hey, can I have a water? You said, yeah, I'll go get that. Boom. I got it. I got my water. Oh my God. Wow. What a complete turnaround, Applebee's, you know? But, you know, we're sitting there, we're eating, you know, and I'm like, how is this possibly $9.99? How is this entire plate of food at a sit down? I mean, look, it's Applebee's, but a sit down casual restaurant. How is this $10? I feel like this should be like anywhere else. This should be like 15, 20, you know? And then I was thinking like, holy shit. How much is this at McDonald's? You know? So I'm like, okay, so I have a bacon cheeseburger with all the fixins, you know? And it's a decent sized patty. It's not like it's like a, you know, like a little McDouble patty or anything. It's like a quarter pound patty. It's a full burger, right? It tastes good. The burger tastes good. The fries are warm. And by the way, this $10 deal, you get the burger, you get fries, and you get a drink. Boom, done. And the fries are bottomless. You can get as many fries as you want. Bingo, you know? And I was doing the math. I'm like, hey, this is $10, right? If you go to McDonald's and you get yourself, I think it's the new promotional meal. I don't know which one it is. They do like those celebrity meals. The one they have right now is a bacon quarter pounder with cheese. So basically the same burger I got, right? But it's McDonald's, right? With a medium fry and a soda. And guess how much it is? $11.79. I couldn't believe it. I was looking at the app. I was like, how much is this? You know? It's $11.79. It's $2 whole more than just going to Applebee's. How does that make sense? How is this like a 20% upcharge to go to fucking McDonald's? It doesn't add up. All right. What's going on? Like I figure, look, I understand. All right. What McDonald's would say as a corporation is that, oh, well, inflation. Okay. It's making the prices of things go up. All right. We got higher wages now, so we have to increase the prices for that. Right. Whatever. Okay. Those would probably be the two main things. But you know what? Applebee's probably deals with similar things too. Right. I will say though, on the wage side of things, now we're going to start talking about tip culture, right? Because I know that at Applebee's, look, one of my ex-girlfriends used to work at Applebee's, right? They don't pay enough for their workers, right? They rely on tips. They really do. Like their workers make like nothing. They have like no paycheck, and all of their money, their income is tips. So, you know, that's partially, I think, the difference. Because McDonald's, you know, they're paying like 15, 17 bucks an hour now. Like, I get it, right? People should be making that much for the record. All right. You do the math, $15 an hour is equivalent to around $30,000 a year. That's not enough as it is. I mean, even if it's just you, just a single solo person working somehow full-time 40 hours at McDonald's a week, you will not make enough money to get by. Simple as that, you know? Like my apartment, pretty small, 2-bedroom apartment. It's over $1,000 a month, you know? If you do the math, if you work at McDonald's, how much are you making a month? Right? Like if you're making like $30,000 a year, that's gross, by the way. Gross income. Like forget the taxes. That's a separate thing. And by the way, New York has a lot of taxes too. State taxes, we have federal taxes, we got it all, you know? That's one thing I miss about Washington is, you know, no state taxes. That was nice, right? But New York does have state taxes. Quite a bit. But you know what? Like you're not going to make enough to get by. I can't imagine how people sustain themselves in New York City. You have to be making like over $100,000 a year to live in New York City just to get by. You have to, just to get by, barely. You have to. I was looking at apartments. My friend Vinny, he sent me a message. He's looking to move soon. He lives down in the Poughkeepsie area. He's moving to Brooklyn, right? He was looking at apartments. He was like, hey, this place looks nice. I'm like, okay, how much is it? $3,200 a month for like a 2-bedroom. Oh my God. How do people do it, man? Like you have to be like, I don't know. I feel like Wall Street has taken over Main Street. If that makes sense, you know? You have to be making like Wall Street money to like sustain yourself. How do people like work at CVS in New York and live? How do people support their kids? Look, the thing is, when you think about it too, right? As far as businesses go, how many like normal jobs are there out there in comparison to like office jobs, right? In New York City, especially, they have all kinds of like little stores. They got the Dwayne Reed pharmacies. You got CVS, you got Walgreens. People work there, right? People work there and they have to be like in the city to get there. Like you can't commute to these places. You have to, I mean, you commute, but you commute on foot, on the train, right? Where do these people live? How do they get there? How do they afford rent? You know, like how is that even possible? Like I understand, you know, in New York, they probably have at least some, rent controlled apartments and things like that. But literally, like the majority of New York City would have to be Section 8, you know? That's how it would have to be in order for people to get by. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. How do people get to work in a normal, busy city? I don't know. I'd like to ask somebody. I'd like to ask somebody who lives in New York City how they do it. How do you get by? So if anybody's listening to this for whatever godforsaken reason, and you live in New York City and you work in a normal job, let's say you work DoorDash, you know, I mean, DoorDash, yeah, you probably make a lot in tips, right? Look, let's say you work retail, you know, how do you get by? How do you do it? I bet it's on a loan. I bet you got like 3 or 4 roommates in your 1-bedroom apartment, right? That would probably be the only way. I'm just curious. I don't know. Oh, yeah. I was on a tangent. So McDonald's, okay? $11.79 for this quarter pounder with cheese. Isn't that ridiculous? Like compared to sitting down at Applebee's, $10. $10 compared to $11.79. You know? Why is McDonald's more expensive than Applebee's? And maybe the real question is, why doesn't Applebee's just charge more so that McDonald's looks cheaper? Well, maybe that's the thing. Maybe that because the wages are so much lower, they can afford to make their prices lower. I don't know. Something's not adding up. I mean, if you take a look at like the McDonald's CEO, how much of a bonus did he get last year, right? Old John McDonald, you know? Old McDonald. Where's his farm? You know? Raking in that cash. Anyways, Applebee's, $10. McDonald's, $12. What the fuck? Whatever. I have other topics. So what's up with bugs in winter? You know? I don't know where you live. I live in New York. In the winter, it gets fucking cold. All right. And what I've noticed lately in my apartment, I've only been here since like June, you know? So I just moved here this past year. So this is my first winter in this apartment. But I've noticed that there are some bugs. Okay. And I don't mean cockroaches, right? It's not like an infestation, not like that, right? But I've noticed for some reason I get like one stink bug that makes it through my window somehow or somewhere. But there's like one stink bug and I find it once in a while. And what I do is I catch it. I open my window and I let it go. All right. But somehow this frickin' thing, I swear it must be the same stink bug every time it makes its way in. I don't know how. How does it make it in here? I have no idea. It makes no sense. Like, is there like a crack in the window? I've looked. There's nothing, right? I sealed it off even. I was like, if it's making it through here, then maybe there's a draft. I should close that up. Nope. Still made it in. I tried the other window. Nope. Still made it in. I was like looking through the walls. I'm like, are there any cracks in the wall? So I sealed around the outlets a little bit better, you know? Still makes it in. So there's got to be like a source or like a vent it's making it through or something. But this frickin' stink bug has made it its life mission to make it into my office. And I'm not going to kill it. It's a stink bug, you know? It's a stink bug. If I smush it, well, that's fucking gross, all right? And maybe I should. But, I'm at the point in my life, I don't like squishing bugs anymore, unless I have to. Because it's not only stink bugs that I've noticed in here, but we seem to have a little bit of a carpenter ant issue too, okay? And I know these things, they live in the walls, So that's a little bit more of an issue than this little stink bug, You see a single black ant just walking around by itself. That little fucker's a scavenger, all right? He's looking for any source of food he can find so he can let his homies know, yo, let's roll. We got it, So, over the summer, I did notice, there was one in the bathroom. I'm like, one ant. I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. And then I noticed another one. A couple weeks later, I'm like, oh, one ant. Interesting. And then all of a sudden, last month, I saw 5 or 6 of them, and they were in the kitchen. And I'm like, where the hell are these ants coming from? And they're not walking in a trail like normal ants would. These are carpenter ants. They're going out solo, grabbing whatever they can find and bringing it back. Now, ants in the winter, they move a little bit slower than ants in the summertime. You know, when they get cold, they get a little sluggish. They move slow. You know, especially because they're also probably hungry. You know, they're looking for food. These guys are starving. You know, but you know, wintertime, you don't expect to see bugs, especially inside. You know, I feel like in wintertime, that should be the one time where you're like, okay, fine. Finally, no bugs. In the summertime here, oh my God, don't even get me started on mosquitoes. You know, it gets so humid out here. You see like clouds of mosquitoes. You're like walking around. There's just like a big, like, it's cartoonish even. You ever see those cartoons like Winnie the Pooh where there's like a swarm of bees and it's all in like one big like ball? That's mosquitoes all the time in the summer, all the time, every day. I think I was watching a Germa 985 video, and he ended up talking about, he grew up in Boston, and same idea. He was like, yeah, in the summer, oh man, people just talk to each other and they go, yeah, so how's your day? And they're just smacking themselves like, yeah, how's your day going? Oh, yeah, well, oh yeah, my day was great. Oh, yeah. Just like dealing with it, trying to like zone it out, but it's such a menace dealing with bugs, you know? I don't like bugs. Don't like bugs. All right. So I see an ant crawling around. I'm like, you've invaded my space. It is time to go, mofo. So yeah, I got some ant traps, right? I got the ones with like the liquid. I was looking online. I was like, what's good for these? You know, I know that like diatomaceous earth can be handy, but it doesn't really stop the, it doesn't really stop it at the source. It just kind of kills whatever comes its way, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, what should I do? And what you do is you get like borax and some sort of syrup mixed with water, and you blend it up and you leave it out so that when the ants take the sugary water back to their hive, they're also ingesting borax, which is really, really lethal for bugs, apparently. But, you know, they also sell like the liquid traps, which are basically the same thing, just like pre-made, you know? So I got some of those. I laid them around, and, it was all quiet on the Western Front for a while, you know? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I noticed a couple of ants again, right? But I will say, the ants that I see these days, they're going really slow. They must be like really struggling if they are getting by. And I also found where the ants were coming from, you know, and I caulked up the crack in the wall that I found they were coming from. I got to the Flex caulk, you know, like the Flex tape people, they make caulk now. Really funny video, by the way, if you look it up, the Flex caulk video. Like, oh yeah, touch my caulk. Like, holy fuck. All right, Phil. Yeah, so, you know, bugs in winter, I don't know how the hell they get in here, but, you know, we manage, you know. But yeah, there's that. We got bugs in winter. We talked about McDonald's, talked about some life stuff going on. I guess to cap it off, I just want to say, hey, thank you for joining in. Thank you for tuning in. Again, this is just me yapping. All right. Thanks for joining us for JuGrTalk. I will talk to you again soon. Take care. Later. JuGrTalk.